Welcome back to the Mark Moses Show, only right here on Sports Radio 95.9 The Fan. And right now here on the Club 52 hotline, great friend of mine from the Midwest. He covers college basketball for FoxSports.com. His name is Reid Forgrave, and we're going to preview a new season of college basketball. It's right around the corner, my friend. So, Reid, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. Any day now, it's going to start getting chilly in the Midwest, and we're going to start being really jealous of you guys for the next 4 or 5 months. So.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. Like, Halloween is Friday night, and usually growing up in the Midwest, it's like, okay, you have your costume on, but then you have a winter coat on. Not here, my friend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's something really weird in the town that I live in. They actually have Halloween the night before. They call it Beggar's Night. I have no idea why, but they always have, like, the official trick-or-treat celebrations are on October 30th, not the 31st. So I'm getting my son ready to get dressed up as a pirate later tonight, actually.
What? He's not like Jameis Winston or Ray Rice? He's not going that route?
He's obsessed with pirates. That's his thing. So I actually have an old Pittsburgh Pirates jersey that I'm going to use as part of my own props that I'll wear. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I like it. Well, what's really funny is, look, we have NBA basketball back, NHL, still in the heart of the college football season, but college basketball is right there, man, right? We're into November. It's almost here, right?
Two weeks from tomorrow will be the tip-off to the season. There's a whole bunch of Friday night games that night. My favorite, and I believe it's that first night, there's a Patino versus Patino game down in Puerto Rico. It's the Armed Forces Classic, and Louisville's playing Minnesota. That's going to be just a great storyline between those guys. And then the Tuesday right after that, you got the what I think is this great thing that college hoops has started, which is the Champions Classic. It's in Indianapolis this year, and you have Kentucky, Duke, Michigan State, and Kansas, 3 of the 4 top teams in the country, and then Michigan State, they'll be down this year, but they'll still be Michigan State. So it's going to get hot and heavy pretty quick, man.
All right, who had a better Midnight Madness? Michigan State you're talking about, or Izzo dressed as Kiss, or Drake showing up and, airballing 3-pointers at Kentucky's one? What was better in your mind?
I mean, Izzo dressed as Kiss is pretty darn hard to beat. I have a dark horse contender for the Midnight Madness of the year, and it was University of Pittsburgh, where Jamie Dixon came in on what's the Back to the Future car called?
The DeLorean.
DeLorean.
Yeah.
Came in a DeLorean. He was dressed as Marty McFly. So that's I know that's it's not the first one you'd think of, but Pitt there's some really funny pictures of that online. Worth looking up.
See, you know what I like is Bo Pelini in Nebraska when he came out with the cat during the spring game.
That's great. That's great. And you know what? That fake Twitter account, I think, might be the single funniest sports Twitter account that there is, that faux Pelini account. Just brilliant.
You know what it is? It's like Eric Cartman. He's saying everything that the whole country's thinking. That's what that fake account is.
It's true. And saying it in a really dumb Bo Pelini voice, which makes it even better.
You're absolutely. If you don't know, if you're listening right now, I'm here with Reid Forgrave, Fox Sports. There's a fake Bo Pelini, the head football coach in Nebraska. There's a fake Twitter account, and he has this terrible photo where he's holding the cat. So then at the spring game, he said, what the hell? The real Bo Pelini's like, I'll just come out with the cat. How are you going to top that for midnight? I mean, Kiss, Iron Man. Now what are you going to do?
It's very postmodern. The idea of what's real, what's fake. The real guy is the one following the fake Twitter account. I don't know what's going on. My brain's going to explode. You got to love it though, man. I love. One of my favorite things about college sports, specifically college basketball, is the spectacle around it. And these schools, a lot of them spend a lot of money and put a lot of creative thought into these midnight madnesses. A lot of times they're a recruiting tool. Obviously, they're designed to get the fans pumped up. And if you remember last year, John Calipari stands up at Rupp Arena, tells a screaming crowd of 20,000 plus, Kentucky is college basketball. I mean, these are they can be a little bit blowhardy, but man, I think they're fun and they get people excited.
Is it wrong that I kind of agree with that? Is that cool? If I agree with Calipari?
It's completely wrong. Come on, man. They are somewhere between college basketball and the NBA, but they're not college basketball. College basketball is the 14 seed beating the 3 seed. It's Florida Gulf Coast going to the Sweet 16. It's these schools that don't get the normal notoriety being able to frankly build up a nationally relevant program in a fairly short time, because one of the great things about basketball, it only takes a few players to commit to a program to make it relevant. A perfect example of that this year is going to be Seton Hall. They have a stellar recruiting class. Their coach is on the hot seat, but they brought in, I think, 5 freshmen. One of them was one of the best freshmen in the country. That quickly, a team can turn things around.
Wait a minute. Great recruiting class, the coach is on the hot seat. Are you talking about Will Muschamp in Florida? I'm confused here.
Is he still on the hot seat? Has he been fired yet? What time is it today?
He is on the hot seat to be fired every game he coaches at Florida. It's incredible. Every time.
Well,
every time.
That team, and I know it's excuses. That team got such not a raw deal last year, but just all those injuries. I'm not sure I've ever seen a team get as many injuries as that Florida team got last year. I know they kind of bumbled their way to the end of that season, but to me, last year I write off as an injury season, but this year I'm not quite sure how you explain.
It's this idea of, and then we'll get to your top 25. Here's what's awesome is Jeff Driscoll was injured last year, so that was the excuse. Well, if we had Driscoll, we would have won games. Now this year, you have Driscoll, and you're like, well, if we didn't have Driscoll, we'd win games. That's literally the difference. So
clearly you need Tebow back. I think that's the only answer. Driscoll's he's just not that level of a quarterback that can carry a team, which is unfortunate for Will Muschamp. I mean, that's probably the hottest seat in college sports right now, unless you look at Brady Hoke at Michigan.
You think there's hoopla with LeBron going back to Cleveland? If the NCAA said, all right, Tebow, you can go back to Florida and play, just forget it, okay? Let's get to go on. What were you going to say?
I think I'm the only sports writer in the country who still believes Tebow, if put in the right situation, could be a very good NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Even as I say it, I don't quite believe it as I say it. But look, I mean, he was 8-5 as a starter. I know he didn't exactly carry that team, but if you look at his fourth quarter stats that year with the Broncos, he was phenomenal. There's some magic fairy pixie dust going on there that's that I can't quite explain. But I'd still, if I had the right team to surround him with, I'd love to have him as my quarterback.
See, he made the mistake, though, a couple years ago where he probably could have gone to Jacksonville, his hometown, and been the king of the Jaguars, right? But he decided, no, I'm going to New York, and I'm going to sell jockey underwear on the side. Like, literally, that's what he decided. And that was, I'm telling you, that was the mistake. But trust me, he's doing just fine. He can pay his Sprint phone bill on time, all right?
Okay. I don't care who you are. Going to the New York Jets is always a terrible idea.
No, I agree. Let's get to your top 25. Who do you like this year? I know you're going to say Duke, Kentucky, Arizona, but who is your top 5 right now, best teams in the country going into the new season?
Look, I think there's a top tier that's fairly well-defined. It's either 4 or maybe 5 teams. Kentucky, Arizona, Duke, Wisconsin, I think are for sure in that top tier. And then Kansas, it's a let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how these freshmen pan out. Let's see how Wayne Selden overcomes his injury from last year. That I think is a pretty solid group at the top. That second tier is massive and very fluid. I really like the Big 12 this year. Until Kansas doesn't repeat again, they have 10 straight Big 12 championships. You have to call them a favorite until they don't get it. But there's 3 other teams that I think could be Final Four contenders in that league. Texas is returning everybody and adding one of the best recruits in the country in Miles Turner, a guy who's kind of a mini Kevin Durant, which is completely unfair to say at age, 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Iowa State, they're my dark horse Final Four team. I actually picked them in my way too early Final Four. They lose 2 great players to graduation last year, but the way Fred Hoiberg works the transfer system and has built up just a really, really solid program there, I think they're going to be good every year as long as he stays there. And then Oklahoma has one of the best starting 5s in the country. If a guy named Tayshaun Thomas, who transferred from Houston, if he is eligible to play this year, that team's going to be, I mean, you could count them as one of the best starting fives in the country. So Big 12 to me is a conference that not that many people are talking about, but has some really, really solid nationally relevant teams.
We're here at the Reid Forgrave, Fox Sports and FoxSports.com talking college basketball. The SEC, it's usually Kentucky and Florida. Is that the case again here for the new season?
Yeah, next question. that is all we got in the SEC. I mean, Kentucky is just an absolute juggernaut this year. I know it's silly. I thought it was silly before last season when everyone was talking about greatest recruiting class ever. What's their chance of going 40-0? I think they have a much better chance this season at going 40-0 because they've been through the ropes. They're not all freshmen. I don't think they will go 40-0, but I think they have a much better chance. Florida will be good. They won't be as dominant as they were last season. I mean, they lost 3 games last season, went 18-0 in the SEC and won the SEC tournament. They're not going to be that this year. But then there's a lot of other teams that I think will fall off in the SEC. Tennessee and Missouri, coaching changes, losing a lot of players. Ole Miss, some people think they could sneak up on people. I think, hey, man, they don't have Marshall Henderson anymore. If you're looking for a couple of teams in the SEC that could make the tournament, maybe make a run, put your money on Georgia, put your money on Arkansas. Arkansas has a lottery pick player in Bobby Portis, play a very unique style of basketball. And one team that I think is really probably a year away, but I really like the coach. I really like the makeup. South Carolina, a team you never talk about in basketball, but Frank Martin is such an intense dude. You remember him from Kansas State from your time in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Such an intense guy. He's getting players who are Frank Martin guys, which is frankly what he's all about. I think that's a team that could, probably not this year, but I think next year could be a tournament team.
I imagine it's like Frank Martin guys. He's got 12 guys on the roster that look just like him with the buzz cut. That's what I want to see for a team. You know what I mean?
He's actually running a militia down there, not a basketball team. He's like, all right, boys, go to war for me. I tell you what, if Frank is one of my favorite people in basketball. He has the death stare, the kind of the courtside demeanor where it's like I'd just start crying if he looked at me that way. He's an incredibly good dude, and when he gets guys who buy into his intensity, his style of basketball, those guys will just absolutely go to war for him.
It's better than the Roy Williams look of like, what are you talking about? My players go to class. I don't know what you're talking about.
What's going on, guys? Hey, I was at ACC Media Day yesterday in Charlotte. Flew back late last night, and it was a scene, man. I mean, give credit to Roy. There's 2 big controversies going on in the ACC. Obviously, the UNC academic scandal, which some are perhaps hyperbolically calling the biggest academic scandal in college sports history. I don't know if that's quite right, but it's pretty bad. And the other one is Syracuse. They're going before the NCAA Committee on Infractions today. Jim Boeheim just kind of looked at reporters and said, I ain't going to answer anything about that. And every time someone asked a question about it, he basically just looked at them. Roy Williams, I wouldn't say he attacked it head on, but he talked about the emotions of this. He essentially pleaded ignorance, that it was a sin of omission, not of commission. I don't believe it, but that's the thing. In controversies like this, you have coaches who know what's going on versus coaches who really know what's going on. I think it's like one of those politician things. As long as someone else has their hands dirty, I'm not sure if a guy like Roy can be implicated. That said, NCAA says the dudes in charge are the dudes who will be reprimanded in this. So I think UNC could be in some very, very serious trouble coming up.
You know, it's funny. It's deja vu with that story. Like I remember covering that in like 2011, 10, 8. It's like how I cover Florida State football. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. When's the game? Okay. What? All right, they're cheating. Who cares? Whatever. That's literally how I feel now. It's just like,
yeah, it's one. That's one of the reasons is because NCAA and just the way the college sports system works, investigations take so long. And the other part is, don't know. I think everybody cheats, quote unquote, cheats to some extent. To this extent, I don't know. But I mean, when you have big time college athletes who are not getting paid, I know they have scholarships, and those are definitely worth something. But if they were put in a free market, they'd be getting paid a lot more. There's a black market for doing things that are against the rules. You know, sometimes against the letter of the law, sometimes against the spirit of the law, sometimes completely blowing the law out of the water, which it appears that UNC has done. But I think we're all pretty jaded about college sports these days, and where it's been and where it's heading. Just look at the state of the NCAA and the O'Bannon case and everything else that's going on. There's going to be major changes on the horizon.
All right, one more. We're here with Reid Forgrave, Fox Sports. I appreciate coming on. I know you're a busy guy. How about my boy, Doug McDermott, going to the NBA?
Hey, McBuckets, man.
I'm so hyped.
I love it.
I'm so hyped.
It's so nice to see this kid succeed. I mean, this is a guy, and I know your folks in Florida don't know as much of the history of Dougie as we do, but he was originally signed to play for University of Northern Iowa when his dad was coach there. His dad switches over to become the coach at Iowa State and doesn't recruit his own son because he didn't think he could play at that level in the Big 12. It's kind of one of those bizarre situations where his dad ends up getting the Creighton job, signs his son to play for him, and the kid just works his tail off and becomes, I think he's going to be a better NBA player than his high school teammate Harrison Barnes, which if you would have said that to people in Iowa 4 or 5 years ago, they would have they'd still be laughing at you.
That's a great point. And you know what's funny also? If his dad doesn't fail at Iowa State, he doesn't go to Creighton and play there.
Yeah, and he was, and this is probably getting a little too down and dirty in Iowa State basketball, but he was kind of handed a raw deal. Didn't have any players, had some guys who transferred, had a very empty cupboard right away, and he was about a year away from getting fired at Iowa State when he ended up kind of lucking into this Creighton job. Things kind of worked out for him, and those with his son, they had 3 of the best 5 years in Creighton basketball history. It's amazing how these things work out because we're so used to college basketball players where, you know, at age 15 or 16, they're dubbed as the next big thing, the next number 1 draft pick, which is why Doug McDermott is such a great story, becomes a lottery pick after a guy who was on nobody's radar just 4 years ago.
It's unbelievable. His name is Reid Forgrave, Fox Sports. Follow him on Twitter at Reid Forgrave. We went very long, but you have to with Reid. He's an awesome guy to talk to on the air. Let me get you on.
And he doesn't stop talking. That's the worst part about him. Shut this kid up.
Oh, man. Hey, I hope I can get you on again during the season, okay, man?
Yeah, let's do it.